was walking with my donkey searching for you.
Our next speaker is Hensley, who will speak to us about restoring abnormal hooves in donkeys. Her specialty is working with donkeys. So everybody can welcome Megan.
Hi guys, I'm Hensley. I'm a Donkey Farrier. And although I've never really done a presentation like this, I have worked on a lot of donkey hooves over the last 13 years. For me, when I think about restoring abnormal hooves, the first thing that comes to my mind is that we're out with the old, we're in with the new. And what that means is that we are going to grow a healthier hoof in. We're really setting the donkey up to grow in a new healthy hoof. I like to think of it as establishing a foundation for new healthy growth. First off, we're going to triage. Trimming, second, diet and lifestyle, and then finally, treatments. Triage. If you're lucky, you might be getting to work with a veterinarian. If you're in the field a lot, in a lot of rural areas, you may or may not get to work with a veterinarian. I am not a veterinarian, so I would never diagnose an animal, but I can see symptoms, abnormalities, or what I would believe is disease or pathology. I like to try to identify those things first. Is the animal possibly experiencing symptoms of laminitis, white line disease? Are they in the throes of an acute abscess? How badly is the hoof wall or the hoof in general been damaged? What kind of distortion are we looking at? And then it'd be so awesome if we could get x-rays, but that doesn't happen a lot. Finally, when we have an animal that's been experiencing abnormal hooves, disease, there could be several reasons why. Is it neglect? Have they just not got the care that they need? Is a donkey hard to handle? The farrier come out and they're like, yeah, I'm not coming back. It happens. Owners, I can't get anybody to help me. A lot of my abnormal hoof clients, when I first meet them, they say to me, they're like, I have been trying so hard to get a farrier. No one will come. Or my donkey was really bad and then didn't want to come back. It's not very often that I'm meeting donkeys with problems that were purposely neglected. Most of the time the people are trying to get help. But if the animal is not able to be handled very easily, we might need to consider medical restraint. And that comes in a few different ways. You do work with a vet for this. There has to be a prescription or a vet on site if you're going to sedate them in person, or if we're going to get like an oral gel. This is the triage. I'm going, okay, what are we dealing with? How are we going to move forward? So once we get through that, then we're going to get to the trimming part. These donkeys, I got a couple more pictures of their hooves. Excellent donkeys. They were abandoned in a field in a small town where I live, and a community member ended up adopting them. And they couldn't get a farrier to come out because there was no history on the donkey. Some farriers are not super excited to work with donkeys. These guys ended up being amazing. So they had distorted abnormal hooves because they just didn't have anybody at the time that could take care of them. And they're doing really good now. So when I'm trimming, I like to think about what is the ideal correct hoof. I got some pictures of what I think is a relatively ideal correct hoof. So I'm using that in my mind when I'm thinking about landmarks. I kind of mess this up though. A lot of the times we need to remove frog material to be able to see where our heels really are, where they really want to be. And I thought about this after I put that up. Establishing a heel base is very important. With a distorted hoof, we're going to look at some pictures here. They're curving under, the heels are moving forward, they're lopsided. I want to take those heels, trim them back, and bring them back. Get the hoof underneath the animal. And I feel like that's the most important thing. I've seen people just cut off just the toe and then not address the heels, and then we're not going to get the best results. That, look at that guy. That's a pretty weird looking distorted hoof. The frog's all rolled over, and you can see that his hoof wall's rolling around there. That was a really fun hoof. It actually came together relatively quickly. So what I had to do was remove all that frog material first, And then I was able to see where I wanted to bring my heels down. And then this hoof over here on that side, does anybody know what that hoof is experiencing? White line disease. And this was a resection. Now, I did not perform this resection. I think the vet did actually that I didn't meet. I'm not against resections. I often don't do them this aggressively. But what I was disappointed in is that although this resection happened, the heels weren't addressed on this hoof. And this donkey had really high heels, and she was chronically toe loading. And I believe that was contributing to her experiencing that white line disease. So we're just gonna go through some photos of what I believe are distorted hooves. This is a mammoth donkey. This was my setup first trim. I'm just doing what I think is working and what I know how their hoofs should be. So when you look at that hoof over there, it's the same hoof, but you can see the high heels and the toe that's long. And if you look at the coronary band at the hairline, it looks jammed up. I lowered the heels on her, and I only lowered the toe just a little bit. Can you guys see a little bit of the difference there? And I do this bevel, this little bit of a roll on the hoof wall because she was jammed up. So when you look at the lines in the hoof wall, they almost look like little accordion lines. So those can be diet related, but they also can just be like hoof wall that's jammed up. It's been jammed up from not being trimmed properly. So I like to put that roll on because I have seen the hoof wall relax like it's fluid. If you relieve that pressure with that bevel, in a few days, that hoof wall will drop and come down, and I'll be beveling it again. These are those same donkeys again. These are from a few years ago, and I'm pretty happy with that trim I did. Sometimes I think it could have been a little better, but this is just a fun before and after. You can see that's the same day. Look at how much we were able to set that hoof up to function more properly in just one trim. And if anybody has any questions throughout the thing, just throw your hand up, let me know. I'll do my best to answer it. Yes?
Sorry, when you cut that much hoof off, does it bleed?
No. We do have to be careful, but the bony structure inside the hoof capsule, we usually can know where it's at. We can map out a hoof or have a really good idea. And then I'll go, yeah, I can trim here, but then I'll back up and trim just a little bit less to make sure. You can get into sensitive material. Maybe if you weren't reading the hoof or got just a little too aggressive, you could draw blood. But they're not like dogs. They don't have a quick that comes down. Yes, sir?
This, when it's super long, can you make it correct in one deal, or do you have to gradually go?
So that hoof on the other side, that is all in one trim, same day. And that, to me, set that hoof up to start functioning better. I want the heel back underneath the body. I want them landing relatively heel first or flat, stimulate the frog, get moving. So yeah, that was in one trim, and that was pretty close. These guys cleaned up in just a few trims. And on this next picture that I'm gonna show you, you're gonna see another hoof that I just took back in one go. Yes?
Have you seen them have difficulty walking after you made such a
No, I often see them feel better right away. Now, sometimes when they're really rolled under and they've been walking, and if there's any joint issues, and that's something I gotta look at. These guys didn't seem, again, I'm not a vet, but I'm like, okay, this is looking pretty good. I can get in here and do this. But if a donkey's been rolled over and it feels like their joints are having issues, we might want to have a vet take a look at them. That in those cases sometimes. But with this, no, they were bucking and running around, and they generally feel a lot better right after the first trim. Anybody else? Okay, so this next hoof is on a little miniature donkey, and he was such a sweetheart. And he stood really great for the farrier. I still don't understand how he got like this, but hopefully you guys can see what I did. I brought the toe back, and then I brought, that whole frog came back, and then the heels came back. So when a hoof rolls forward, can you see how it just slides forward? Everything migrates forward. The heels go out from underneath them. The toe goes forward, and they start standing like this. you want to bring the heels back and get them underneath themselves with a nice short toe so that they can break over and get moving. Like this was a fun one. And this little donkey was having a really hard time moving around, and I got a call like 2 days later that said, oh my gosh, Astro's bucking and kicking and running. So that's always really fun when that happens. That's that same hoof that was experiencing the white line disease. This was about 6 months later. That's her hoof. That's our first hoof capsule that's grown back in. And she's on her way to growing a second one now. I put her on a shorter trimming cycle. We treated with copper sulfate, and then I wanted to get them moving more, so I was telling them to get them hand walking or get them on a track. They were eating some grain, and I told them to take them off the grain, no processed feed, no grains. And I put them on California Trace Plus, which is a mineral mix that I really like. And then they started eating straw with a little bit less grass hay too. So that was it. So we did the minerals, we did more frequent trimming, we removed the grains that had the high sugars. I believe that sugars contribute to the white line disease and laminitis. In fact, you'll see when a donkey's experiencing laminitis, they'll often have white line disease too. That's what I've seen. Okay, this is just another foot. This one wasn't severely distorted, but this is an overgrown foot. And I see this a lot, and people will think, oh, they don't need to be trimmed yet. And I'm like, no, yeah, they do. Can you see the difference? This frog is also super thrushy. This guy had some stuff going on, and he's got some bruising there. I just want to take the foot to where I know it needs to be, and then I'm gonna tell the people to change the diet, get the donkey moving more, and get on a better trimming schedule. So you can see that I just took those heels back. Now, Ross, what do you think of this next one?
That was lovely.
Yeah, okay, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not sure what I'm doing with this foot. I just saw this donkey about a week ago, where I brought her heels down a little bit. She's very contracted, appears to be super contracted. The lady said that she's always been on her toe and her heels have been high for a really long time. I want x-rays, and we are going to get x-rays. But look, like, that's all diseased wall. So this stuff on the outside of the hoof wall, I don't really know what's going on. It's like that periopal thing, but
It is periopal, but what causes it to grow that way is really hard to find.
yeah. So it's so funny, I show up to these things and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna see what we can do. Like, I try to want to be hopeful with the people, but I also tell them, like, I'm not totally sure what's gonna happen. And I was super conservative. I like just barely brought her heels down, and then I brought that toe down, and then I put some hoof armor all along this area there, and where the white line is messed up, and I put it on the bottom of her hoof. And I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. But yes?
Were all 4 feet affected like that?
No, just the front two.
Both front.
Yeah, no, her hind feet are like perfect little donkey feet.
Was she overweight?
Little bit. She had been overweight in the past, and she had been on a long-term alfalfa diet. So thank you for bringing that up. And like I say, this is a brand new case. These are my first pictures. In fact, we're hoping to schedule x-rays for next week. We may even bring her down here. I don't know exactly what we're gonna do for sure.
Documented prior laminitis.
Huh?
Documented laminitis.
She said that she had found her before, but did not have any x-rays or any like medical like history on her, but she's also had a really hard time finding a vet and a farrier to work with her. So the alfalfa, so this lady's cool though. She started following my page, and by the time I got there, my donkey was eating alfalfa, but I stopped it after I read your stuff. And I was like, yeah, and then and I ordered the California Trace Minerals, and I was like, yeah, all right. So this is really, I'm excited to see what's gonna happen with this foot. Someone else had a question. Yes? 34. She's old. She's super old. And she's so sweet. She's so sweet too. She's just a really good girl. Yes?
So Megan, I think all of your information has been wonderful. If I
Yes.
We have a 34-year-old donkey that had a history of being overweight. And
Yes.
blah, blah, blah. If she can get a vet there, if you guys can get a vet there, definitely look into her insulin,
Okay.
glucose blood levels, and the Cushing's test.
Yes. And what's your name? Cindy Nielsen. Hi. I'm glad you're here. Yes, sir.
You know, you're talking about this California trade. I live in Texas. How do you find out the correct diet for hooves and stuff in your wherever you walk?
That's a good question. You core your hay and you take it and you get it tested. You can also have your soil and your water tested. And the idea is that your minerals should balance out what's missing. Do you get the same hay all the time? You do? Yeah, then it's harder for people when you're getting your hay from different sources. But if you've got a pretty solid source of hay, then I would definitely have it tested. Depends on what you're into, I think. Like, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Woo! All right, look at this guy. He reminds me of, what is it, Gene Simmons from Kiss? Look at that. Look, this is one of the craziest donkey hooves, like tall like this in a shoe. That's so wild. So that's that same hoof. And you can see he's got all kinds of like delamination of the wall. When I saw that, I thought I'd like to really do something different. We're talking about abnormal hooves, so here they are. And if any of your hooves happen to look like this, don't freak out. Or if you're seeing something that now that you're seeing abnormal hooves and you're thinking, okay, wait, something's wrong with mine. I don't want anybody to feel panicked or scared, because you can remedy this. I do this all the time, and mostly I get pretty darn good results, and it's really about time and just proper trimming. If you were my client, I would assign you a protocol, and I'd be like, please try to follow this the best you can. I want you guys to see this. This is the same foot, and this is what I'm talking about, growing out the old hoof. You can see that it's better, and you can see the new growth coming down. Can you guys see that? It's healthier hoof wall that's just coming down. Like you can see, this was a before and after trim. What happened to that mess down below? It's going away. And that's why I put treatment down at the last. I feel like treating with topicals and soaks are important, but they're not at the top of my list. I want to get all these other things in alignment, and then we'll do some topicals and soaks. This is just first trim. This is a process. She needs to be trimmed about every 3 weeks. 4 weeks is getting a little long when we're dealing with this. And then this guy, did anybody watch the field anesthesia talk? This is him. He was on that, Cindy's first line. This is Jables. He's named after Jack Black, because I love Jack Black's band, Tenacious D. And the donkey you saw before is little KG, the other guy. But look, this is one trim. Oh. There it is, plain. This is Jables. This is the guy. So watch him walk. I just want you guys to see what it looks like. See that? And that's little KG. He was the one with the hoof before. His were really long too. Not as bad as Jables. Here, that's where you can, look at that. And so we did opt for medical restraint for him. But it also happened to just coincide with his castration, because that was one of his issues. The other is that he wasn't being handled. Oh, isn't they so cute? Look at them, gotta love them. I met these guys and they weren't getting the care they need, and I offered the people some options and they turned them down. And I basically told them, I can either call animal control right now, or you can surrender them to me. I'm not a hoarder yet. But I did take these guys. They were like, okay, because I was serious. Like, I wasn't going to leave their property until they decided that they were going to do something about it. What you're seeing here is that Eric Davis is on the other side. That's me, and that's my colleague Lenora. This was my first ever full-blown anesthesia down like this. So this was, my heart was pounding, and I was sawing his hoof with a saw. All right, what's an ideal hoof? We got a wild burrow hoof right here. And then we have one of my clients' hoofs who I think is pretty good, but we got a little bit of delamination down there on the bottom, but I really like that foot. And that donkey travels all over, riding, does all kinds of stuff. He just seems to never have any problems. So I really like the way those hooves look. And then on the left, you have a hoof that I've trimmed, and over here is one of Ross Keller's hooves that I really love. and this belongs to Jack. And so this is what we're looking at when a hoof's been maintained for quite a while. So here's the protocol. I like to remove sugars and processed feed, and that really ties into the species appropriate diet, which I'm going to talk about in my enthusiast talk. But that really consists of us removing sugars. What's there to eat in the desert? There's not a lot to eat out there. They have to work really hard for those few calories that they can get. And so they come into domestication and we're like, hey sweetheart, I'm gonna give you all this. Not because we're trying to hurt them, we just don't know any better, and feed companies are selling you all the time. The mineral balancing is super important. And then I also believe for healing that we have to know that they are herd animals and need companionship, freedom of movement. We can even play more with habitat and enrichment. We set their hooves up to get better, and then I want those donkeys moving and eating better. And then that all plays in. I put hoof boots up there, but I'm gonna have some on Sunday for you to see. I really don't have any pictures. So these all work together. This is a video of me applying hoof armor. It's not gonna play, we don't have enough time. Anyways, this is a product that I really like, and I'm actually liking it in lieu of soaks. You can put it on and it lasts about three weeks, and it's antimicrobial, antibacterial, and it also puts like this protective, flexible, breathable coating over the foot. It's got like little pieces of Kevlar in it. It's awesome, and I'm getting really good results, and it's super easy to apply. So this has been a nice alternative because it lasts longer. Oh, there it goes. Anyways, this really thin coating, and then you just watch this. This is the guy with the nice hoof. I was just actually playing with hoof armor application. Look, he's gonna put his head on me. Oh, he's a good boy. I let them do that to me. I like it when they do that. I can usually tell if they're thinking about nibbling. Oh, he's so cute. Thank you, everybody.